Hey, you guys, how are you doing? The markets are closing in 2 minutes, and we are going to talk about something, one of the most difficult things, at least what I think, and that is, you know, profit taking, right? When to take some profits potentially. I think getting the entry right, I think that I found, one of my, that I do well. Again, that's what I think at least. Stop loss, I think, is okay. But taking profits to me can be difficult. When do you do it and all that? Again, it's really difficult. For instance, we're going to look at Santacruz here, up what, 500%. There's nothing wrong with taking profit after such a run, right? There really is not. Even though we're going to go higher, it's a huge win to have 400%, in like, what is it, half a year? I can't remember exactly when we bought it, but half a year maybe? That is insane. Can we go higher? Absolutely. Could we see a large correction real soon, like 30, 40%? Yes, we can. I'm trying to just show you some charts that, um, and give my thoughts about where we are on some of these stocks. But yeah, I think taking profits along the way is difficult. Do you go with a plan, you know, of actually going, let's say you have a very big target that is very far away. Do you want to sit through that for the entire 3 years and in and having the joy of, enjoying, multiple 30% pullbacks, 40% pullbacks? Yeah, again, that these are gonna come um, um, almost always. So what do you do? Again, it's all about, preference. Do you take half off here? That's also a good point. Again, this to me is so difficult, and I would love to hear your views. What do you do in order to take profits? Do you, sell in like three quarters, or like, in three thirds along the way, and then you're out? Or again, selling into massive strength is difficult. Let's look at it here and try to get a discussion going. I would love to have, hear your thoughts about what you think is correct. Do you stick with again, I will not, do you stick with the plan? What do you? So I found here like 10, 15 stocks that we have talked about multiple times. And also we are heavily invested into these. Um, and just to see where we stand. So for instance here, AG, right? AG on the daily here. Again, to me, remember, bought down here. This was just when we released like the first few videos, I think, if I'm not mistaken, of the stop stack. So this is very early, and we're up, from 0.25 to 100 to $1 basically, a bit less. But again, that is 400%. And do you take profit here? Um, and what I like to think here, are we by any mean really stretched here? Let's say we have a target up here. Are we really stretched here where you could take some profit because we could see that big pullback come in? No, not on this one here, not on Aftermath. We're sitting and trying to break that resistance over here, which is 15 years old. We're sitting just below, consolidating here, right? So for me, right now, Aftermath is, even though we're down 10% today, for now at least, I'm not in the camp of saying, hey, I want to sell Aftermath, right? That's not, what I think. Um, so yeah, right now we're just consolidating for Aftermath. Though I don't really, you know, that hasn't crossed my mind by any means, right? Let's say we are lucky or whatever, to really have this just go like that, right? Really just not looking back. Then I'm at the point where we are hitting, I wouldn't say all-time highs, but definitely major highs. We had a huge rally, and we're hitting some parallels as well. That's when I'm saying, okay, I could take profit there. Um, but right or wrong, again, we don't really know. We could collapse here, of course. Again, we don't exactly know what's going to happen. That could be a fakie, and we're going to, come down and correct. Yes, but for now, at least, we're still holding solid. So that is not, again, right or wrong. I don't know where it takes us, but to me, it looks like consolidation here. So I'm fine with that, even though down 10%, right? But that is, again, that's a huge loss in one day. But that is the name of the game of these commodity stocks. You know, they can rally 10%, they can drop 10% with the blink of an eye. Abra is one of those stocks where I'm like, do I want to take something off the table here? We're going to go to original candles. Bit of history, which you know, again, this was to me one of those perfect setups. We're not going to talk about that. So long since roughly $2 here, a whole lot of nothing, and then we started to rally and forming this yellow uptrend, right? Breaking all-time highs, basically in one go. Basically in one go, but there were no pullbacks. We just went straight through. So, and what we can see now is, again, massive uptrend, but we also have to acknowledge that Abra right now is actually breaking the uptrend. Again, depends on how you really want to align this stuff here, but I think you get the idea. We're breaking the uptrend and actually this rising wedge here on the way out, right? So if we start to trade below roughly $6 here, I could see Abra correct. I really could see that in the cards, right? It could correct 20% or so. Um, so that would be a place to maybe, hey, I want to take some profit. Yeah. Do we have higher targets? Yeah. But we could also be in for a period here where we just correct heavily. Hell, we could even, again, we could even do a disgusting 50% pullback into a backtest of the previous all-time highs. Right? We could see that in worst case, in my view. So Apple here to me looks like, hey, there are, this is a candidate to take profit. It has a lot of what about momentum? Just want to check here. We haven't really been breaking any momentum yet, but right, it could look like it, depending on how you draw this stuff here, right? You can see we are basically having this kind of head and shoulder at the top here. So I think, again, once we are breaking down, are we breaking down here? Yeah, we are. But taking out that low and getting below 6, that is where you can take profit. Again, you will never, well, sometimes you do, but selling at the highs is difficult, but it looks like it wants to correct here. It really does. So again, it depends on your, at least from my view here, what do you want to do? You want to play the long run? Because the long run is still insanely great looking, right? The long uptrend here looks incredible. The 200 weekly is just blasting, but we are also very stretched, right? So we could see that correction just to reset it a little bit. So yeah, this is difficult. This is where things are difficult. And for some reason, right, we don't have anything on here, but I will say this here is the important line roughly on Vista. And this one here looks kind of stretched to me, right? You can see that we are very far away. We have run pretty far, and we could, again, this is a candidate that could do a full retest. I'm not saying that we're going to have it, but we could see that going from what, now roughly 6 down to 3. But again, it's so difficult to sell into a lot of strength. It really is. And yeah, again, you know what they say, we're not seeing any big technical breaks in this one here, so let your winners run, right? But yeah, again, let me know what you think here. Difficult. Again, this is why I'm doing the video. I think I find this is really difficult to what is the most optimal thing to do? Is it to take the profit along the way? Again, depend. Or do you just stick to your targets and yeah. AU here, for instance, to me is just beginning. Right? It's just beginning. There's no real stretch to it. We've just been breaking some downtrends, some 5-year wedge, just breaking out. Maybe short term we have a little pause here, but to me, the the weekly is just turning. We're just breaking stuff. So there's nothing. Again, to me, this is still looking like a stock that I want to participate in. Again, I haven't been buying this stock here at roughly, it was here, right, at roughly 0.7, only to sell it here $1 after, basically just breaking out of stuff. I'm not gonna, again, I'm gonna keep that for sure. Same thing here with CDE. You can see, and again, I'm 100% confident that if I were to plug the RSI on, I think the weekly, we are just blasting heavily over overbought conditions. But to me, also looking at it, if you look back, we have just been breaking out. We basically broke out in June, and we are now in early September. That is 2 months roughly, three. But we're just breaking out here. So the long-term trend is definitely pointing to higher stuff here. But also we've come quite far already. So could there be corrections? Will there be corrections? Yeah, there will be. Nothing goes up in a straight line. But as you know, triangle highs, it's targeting 16.4 here, the triangle high. Then, I would expect some sort of pause or some sort of pullback. But I'm not going to sell anything in here for CDE. It has way more room to run. And as I've been saying, when we entered, this one is a stock that you can hold for years, right? This is a 30-year breakout. You should be able to hold this. Often you can use, you divide the length of what you're breaking out from, in this case, roughly 30 years. You divide that by 7. That is a good default, right? Doesn't mean again, it can be applied anywhere, but that's a good default. So we're talking, like 4 years, to hold this stock, well knowingly that we're gonna cry from time to time because again, this one is gonna kick you in the face just like every other commodity stock, is doing from time to time because of nothing goes in a straight line. But I'm not touching GDE. We're just getting started. So that is none of my worries here. Here we have DRD. Again, to me here, DRD, remember, we bought it here, right, at roughly 12, right? So this formation, which we should make a little bit thicker, just so you can see it on your whatever device you're looking at. Like that. You can see do you want to make it red? Yeah, red is good. I like red. My favorite color, actually. So we have just been breaking this 5-year wedge here. You can see that going down. Not you. I want to pick you. I choose you. You can see we're just breaking that wedge, right, to the upside. Breakout, almost back test, and we're breaking higher. So even though, again, I'm confident if you go to the RSI on the weekly, that we are oversold quite heavily. But to me, it's just getting started. We're just getting started, yeah. And so yeah, I'm not really, again, having any thoughts of selling it here, right? We're still so close to the structures that we have been wanting to buy into a breakout, that it's not really anything. Once we get potentially up to here, right? When we start to get closer, that's when, it starts to itch. Let's say we're gonna, right? When we start to get close to the targets and really hopefully, of course, really starts to push things higher. That's when I get that itch. I want to take profit. I want to take profit. But right now, I don't think we're there. Again, let me know. But I think it's still very early. Even though, again, we are into horizontal resistance here. Not gonna lie, that is actually, you can see here. So that is horizontal resistance. So, but yeah, still early. I'm not considering anything. MGG, again, bought it over here. Just getting going now. I think this looks really, really good, even though we're getting smoked today, 12%. But we haven't even started yet for MGG. It has been chucking along, lagging a little bit, but we haven't even started. So this, again, I'm not really concerned. Here's a good candidate, right? Here's a really good candidate in my view, and that is MKO, which, excuse me, was and is a really good looking long-term chart. So you can see here from the entry we've made was roughly 3.7, and we are now at basically a double, right? So could I see this correct? Yeah, I could. Again, we don't really know when, but this, again, we've come really far. Nothing goes in a straight line, but is it here or is it starting now? We don't really know. But we are very stretched. Again, I'm looking a bit more short term here because long term I have, way higher prices because overall this stuff here, incredible. Again, these are the good ones, right? And yeah, do you start to take some profit here after again, this one is a candidate to take half off and then be risk-free, right? Yeah. That has never hurt anybody. So you take half off, you have that as dry powder, you can go into other stocks, right? That's never a bad thing. Well, so yeah, this one here, MKO, again, difficult. Depends on your time frame. But again, I have the target, which is here, which is 9, and we are sloping up. So on the weekly, heavy uptrend, of course. So yeah. So but again, I'm making this video because I could see the correction, but and September is going to be wild with the whole rate cuts and all that, which is in 15 days, right? Isn't it close to the 20th? I don't know, roughly thereabouts. Don't quote me on that one. OCG, again, we shouldn't be talking about this because we are just breaking out. Again, that's still a buy. We're down 8%. You're getting a discount. So that is good. Prim here, basically, it has just broken out from the structure that we were looking at in a heavy uptrend, and we're just getting started, right? The weekly is not even, is it starting to lift? Yeah, it's starting to curl up. So this one here, I wouldn't even, think about it. We could backtest the blue. We could do a whole lot of stuff. Again, I'm not selling this stock that looks so good to me after we bought the breakout. Was it here or there? Huh. It was here. Yeah, it was 2.3. And we've run, like 20%, but I'm not going to sell a stock after, 3 years worth of sideways action and we're breaking out from that. No, no, no. It's that one, no. Radisson, yeah, that is a good candidate. Do we sell Radisson here? There are, again, really good signs that you can see we're breaking above here. We're breaking this uptrend here, right? But we're also very stretched. So these breakouts, after you're being very, very stretched, these can be extremely powerful, but they can also be dangerous. So again, you can see the back test here. If we fail, do then correct, 30, 40% from there. Likely, yeah, it is likely that we see that. So that is one that again I think could be of a candidate. What do you think? Do you take some profit if we fail here? But again, overall, you're still trending heavily. And again, we had the big breakout there at 0.2. Now we are basically up to 300% in this one. Yeah, it's and this might be the best candidate, right? It might be the best candidate to talk about. Yeah, maybe SUP is a close second. Santacruz, was a big call. We made it here, 0.44, and now we are up. Even we are down in 2%, but even we're up almost, let's call it 350% in half a year. Again, no one has ever died of taking profit here. We are insanely stretched. That can be bad, in the short term because we could pull back, right? We could see a little pullback here. But it also means that we have a ton of momentum behind us, right? So again, very big breakout, basically no sellers for now at least. So it has a good, feel long term that again, once we start to pull back, that is your second chance because this is basically the first kind of wave up, whatever you want to call it there, depending on how we get things going, right? So long term, it looks gorgeous. Short term, are we there when you can see if we fail this breakout here from the blue, right, basically starting to trade below roughly 1.8, we have a false breakout, you go to the other here, you might undershoot. So we could go here, we are now at almost 2. We could see 1.4, 1.2 maybe if it really gets ugly here. Right, we could see that because we are trying to break an upsloping, parallel, that is very bullish. It's very, very bullish. But if it fails, you get, a heavy reaction to the other side. So let me know. Remember, target we have is roughly 7 here, long term, and we are now at 2, so we still have more to go. We are very close to the all-time highs at roughly 2.5. So I think that has a magnitude. I think we're gonna attack that before, again, we see that what we often see, you can overshoot and then you start to pause a little bit, or you attack and then you correct. So, but yeah, it is very nice to sit on so big gains, but it's also, we will come in a situation, most likely, as we always talk about, where we correct very big, right? We could correct 40% and still be in a healthy long-term uptrend. But in that shorter period, which could last like, 3 months, 4 months, that's going to feel like hell because you're up 400%, then you got cut in half. Sucks. Just look at the LEU. We did the entry at 50. We ran to 120, gave it all back to roughly 120, gave it all back, and then we rallied to 200. So, yeah. Again, I want to get a discussion going here. What do you think is the best? Do you stick to your targets or do you take half off? Again, let me know. So this is, here we have SUP, long-term breakout. Remember, go back to the other videos. It was a really good one. Not going to talk about that. But we are also up like 100% here, getting close to the highs here. The 200 weekly is just getting started. We are very stretched. This could easily be a candidate of something like this. Yeah, it could be. So that is what we have. I wouldn't say expect, but we wouldn't be surprised, would we? If we get this beautiful rounding bottom here, then we do some sort of handle. We wouldn't be surprised. Of course, we don't know, but again, that can just easily happen. The target we have is here, and then very greedy up here, right? Very, very greedy one. But again, to expect this one to do this and then just say, thank you, I'm out. No, right? You are most likely gonna get a lot of pain, right? Before maybe getting there. We're getting these 50% pullbacks. Again, I don't know if it's gonna do this. It's just, to show you that. So what do you think is best? Is it to get, again, to become risk-free, which you could be here on SUP. And from there on, you basically, from a risk perspective, you can't lose anything, right? So you have already won. So you're risk-free. You're break-even. SVG here, it's such a small stock, we don't really want to talk about that. Vizsla Silver, a lot of things going on here, I know. But to me here, we have just been breaking this long flag here to the upside. So even though we have come up from 1.2 to basically 5, and that is 400%, I still think it's just chucking along. So I wouldn't really worry about that. It's not stretched by any means. Yes, we are starting to see some negative convergence. What's it called? Divergence on the RSI. I assume here, but you can see here this one is just again starting to ramp right now. So this is the fun part, right? This is where you get big volatility both ways. WRN is not a candidate to talk about because we are so happy with the position here. It's still a buy here, 2.04, still a buy, even though we bought it like a week ago, right? Bought it in here, a bit, maybe a bit too trigger happy. I don't know. But we have been breaking out one of the best looking stocks at this moment from an entry point of view and risk reward wise. I think WRN is a prime candidate. And I said that a few days ago. I said it last week. I said it 2 weeks ago. That's still the case. This is, again, looks really good risk reward. It doesn't mean it's going to go to our target or it's going to be a successful breakout here. It doesn't mean that. But these we take all day long. It's beautiful. So, yeah, just to keep that in mind. Let's check in on silver, having a down day today. back testing the rail up here. Again, this could be, again, I'm still in the camp that you know the deal. We are very close to momentum breakout, very close. If it doesn't happen, right? If it doesn't happen, this could be a little mini fakey here, and we could actually correct. We could see some, we are now at 40 something, right? We could see this one go down. In worst case in my view right now is to see 34 if we really start to get hammered. Again, we have rate cuts and we have the bond market is funky as hell, so that is again fun. So we could see a fakey here and go down to the lower side and potentially backtest this breakout here at roughly 35. Could easily happen. So yeah, but for now, heavy uptrend breaking out, trying to get its footing here at very, I wouldn't say very elevated prices, but you can see where there's a huge gap in between, the average and such. And at some point in time, that will reset, right? Meaning you will have price and the average catch up. Well, letting the price will stall slash pull back in order to have, the moving averages catch up at some point in time. It will always happen. It will always happen. So it happens in an uptrend, it happens in a downtrend. That's just the ebbs and flows of any. But interesting still for silver, and we have non-farm payrolls tomorrow, right? We had claims today, we have jobs tomorrow. Yeah. So even though we don't really care, it's just fun to watch the reaction. But silver down a little bit today. Who cares? Who cares? Mining down 1%. That's basically flat. Even though you can see here, the SILJ is down 1.5%, but meaningless. It doesn't matter. But looking at, this is uranium also getting hit. But you can see all these small stocks here, which we own quite a few of, like big, for instance, 5%. Ouch. Again, it doesn't. Whew. It's a one-day thing. Again, you don't care. MGG, MKO, only 2%. So we are having a red day today. It doesn't matter. It's just day-to-day business right now. So right now, it's fine. Again, let me know, what do you think is the best way to play an uptrend like this, right? What is the best way? Is it to take half off and then, play it risk-free? Is it to have, again, we have 3 or 4 targets along the way. Like the first one is often the triangle high, then you get some measured moves from the momentum, and then you get, some Fibonacci's and so on and trend lines. Do you take like a third off at triangle high, then the 100% you take a third again, then you let the rest go to the greedy target? I would really like to know your thoughts on this. So hopefully you want to reply to this video so we can get a discussion going and just to hear what people think. I might want to do a poll on the Substack just to see, because then you get a good overview, right? So different video, right? This is just to get a discussion going on a very red day, but we don't really care. Yeah. So I want to hear your thoughts, really. And let's take it from there. Have an amazing day as always. Bye, guys.